Welcome to Simply Excel. In this video, I'm going to take you through how to make your drop-down lists in data validation dynamic, so that when you add new values to them, they're automatically included. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that you know how to do data validations. If you don't already know how to do that, please check out my video on data validation and drop-down lists, which takes you through the basics. So let's get started on dynamic lists. So my preferred method when I'm using data validation lists is to have a standing data tab in my spreadsheet where I can keep all my lists of data. And then if necessary, I can hide that tab from other users, and then there's no danger of those lists being deleted or altered in any way if I don't want them to be. Some people will advocate putting a list down the side here, but I think that can just make your sheet look a bit scruffy. It will print out potentially if you don't set a print area, and again it's in danger of being deleted or changed without your knowledge. So the first thing I'm going to do is get our list of data for our validation list. And what I'm going to do for this example is get an alphabetically arranged list of all the sports that are contested at Olympic Games. So we already have all our sports in this table, so we're going to use this data as our source. As you can see, there's a lot of duplication in this list. We've got swimming appearing multiple times, and obviously the sports are repeated for every single person that's won a medal in them, so there's going to be lots of repetition. So the easiest way to get a unique list is to use the unique function. Now if I'm using this function against my list of sports, I'll then need to copy the results of that function into a simple text list, otherwise we're going to end up with a circular reference in this column. So to get my initial list, I'm just going to use a temporary working area over here. I'm going to select a cell. In my formula bar, I'm going to start typing equals unique. And then I want to sort it alphabetically, so I start a new formula there. Open the brackets for that. And then I'm going to select all the sports in my sport column. I'm going to start by clicking on the top record, so I'm not including the header because we don't want the word sport to appear as one of our available sports. And then I'm going to press Control Shift and the down arrow. That's taken me right down to the bottom row of data in my table. I'm coming back up to my formula bar. I'm going to close the brackets for my sort function, and you'll see that the brackets are indicated in red as a pair. And then I'm going to close my unique function. Press return, and we now have a nice alphabetical list of all the sports. Now because this list is just a reference to the list in our sport column, what we're going to need to do is select that data, copy it and paste it as values so that we disconnect it from that unique function and we don't end up with a circular reference in our sport column. So the way we do that is we click on the first record again, Control Shift and down arrow. That selects all our sports. Control and C to copy that data, and you'll see we get our little dotted line moving around the edge there. Come into my standing data sheet. I'm just going to move down to the second cell, right click, and then I'm going to use the paste option of values. So now you'll notice that when I click on alpine skiing, it just says alpine skiing, whereas in our original source, that cell actually contains our function. So now we're done with this data, I'm just going to delete this column by right clicking and deleting. So just tidying up as we go. And we now have our standing data. So I'm going to give this a header, sport, and I'm just going to double click up here between the columns just to make our cell wide enough to contain all that data. The next thing I'm going to do is just to ensure our list is dynamic. So when we add to it, it gets included in our drop-down options. To do this, I'm going to come up to our top cell and press Control and T. You'll see that's put a line around all our data, and the Create Table pop-up has appeared. I'm going to select my table has headers. Click OK. We've now got this formatted as a table, and in the table design ribbon that's appeared, I'm going to rename my table to Sport List. Press Enter. So now we've got all our data, we've named it so we can reference it easily, and we've got it as a table so that we can add to it and expand that list dynamically. And now we're going to take a look at how we reference this list in our data validation. So if we come back to our Olympic Athletes tab, again we're going to select our entire sport column by pressing Control, Shift and down. We're going to come up to our data menu in the ribbon, back into data validation, and in our settings tab we're going to select the list. We're going to leave in-cell drop-down on, which means that when we try and enter data into this cell, we'll get a nice drop-down list of all the sports which we can select from, but we can also type them in as well. And you see we've now got a source box here. You might think we could reference this table like we would anywhere else in the spreadsheet by just typing in equals and then our table name, which was sport list. However, that returns an error. What we'll need to do is use the indirect function, which allows us to reference an array. So we say OK on that error. So what we're going to do is we're going to overtype this with equals indirect. We're going to open quotes, type our table name. We're going to use square brackets to reference a column, which we called sport. And close our quotes and close our brackets. And you'll see now that when we click on any cell in this column, we've got a drop-down arrow, which has got a full list of sports in alphabetical order. If the Olympic Committee then decide to add a new sport to the Olympics, we can add this to our table in our standing data tab, and it will automatically get picked up. If we come down to the bottom of our table and we add a new sport, so we'll add bog snorkeling. Now, unfortunately, there's no easy way to get the list to sort alphabetically automatically, so we are going to have to do that manually, but that's really easy because we've got this data formatted as a table. All we need to do is come back up into our table by pressing the up arrow, and you'll see we've got our usual drop down that appears in a table, and this will allow us to sort this column A to Z with one click. So now bog snorkeling is appearing in the list in our table, and we can check that that's updated in our data validation by coming to any cell here, clicking on the drop down and scrolling down till we see bog snorkeling. And that's how to validate your data with a dynamic list. It takes a little bit of time to set up, but it is worth doing because that list is now going to be easy to maintain and it's going to be reflected instantly in your drop down lists. And no one's going to be able to type anything in this sport column that isn't in your list. So if we try typing in a sport that isn't in our list, we get our error message. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more Excel tips. Thank you for watching.